gonna be honest with y'all. I've held off on this episode. It's Romania Black. We're on episode 23 of Chihayafuru, and I've held back on this episode because last episode was Roughsville. Last episode was hard. Chihaya lost. She's not gonna be the queen of the Eastern qualifier to go up against Shinobu, and I'm really upset about that. And we still have 3 episodes left of this season, and I'm like, okay, so things are gonna happen. But I'm just so disgruntled and like, about it. But should we be surprised in the first season that Chihaya didn't get things to go her way? No, probably not. But it's not fair. It's not fair at all. So we're going to dive into these comments before we get started with this episode and just rip the Band-Aid proverbially off. But for Arata, for episode 20, back in happier, crazy times, said the poem of the day for that episode was Waves and Clouds, which I, right off the bat, associate with Arata and Chihaya, because Chihaya's always got her head in the clouds. She has the association of the bird in the sky. Arata is the sea. Taichi's drowning. So poem 76 was composed by Fujiwara no Tadamichi, the eldest son of the Japanese regent, or Kanpaku, the chief advisor to the emperor, Fujiwara no Tadazane. He himself also became the regent to the emperor, effectively making him a kingmaker. After getting into a succession dispute between the future emperor Go Shirakawa and the retired emperor Sutoku, poem 77, he found himself involved in the Hogan Rebellion, which was described in our previous poem of the day for episode 19. Tadamichi sided with the emperor Go Shirakawa, while his brother Fujiwara no Yorinaga sided with Emperor Sutoku. Mostout translates the poem as I row out into the wide sea plain and look all around me, the white waves of the offing could be mistaken for clouds. Oh, this is standard imagery. The poem uses many makura kotoba, or pillow words, as we've discussed before, to evoke a vivid image of a great blue ocean, almost sky-like, with blues punctuated by the white tips of cresting waves expanding across the horizon. These pillow words include Hisakara no, from a distant direction, Watanohara, a field of cotton or the sky, and then Okitsu Shiranami, the white waves offshore. The grandiose expression have always conveyed the idea of the surreal, and that's what Taichi is faced with. To me, the poem reminds me of how no matter where Taichi looks out to, he's met with the powerful images of water. Rivers and oceans have been many cards attributed to Arata, but also Taichi as they remind him of his rival and his own fallibility. In a way, the image portrayed is also very lonely. You're alone in the middle of an ocean. It's not too hard to see how this reflects Taichi's feelings too after being left behind by Chihaya and Arata. And the funny thing is, a lot of it is in Taichi's head. That's kind of what we've talked about. It's like a lot of it is Taichi just projecting his own insecurity. Because I'm like, sure, Arata had been practicing and was more practiced than you back when you were in grade school. But now he's, you could catch up because Arata's been out of practice. And Chihaya has been at it, effectively leaving Taichi behind. But she's not trying to intentionally do that. She's been trying to drag him along. It's just been Taichi's own fault that he's not done that. But anyway, thank you for Arata. That's really awesome. HBanana7 for episode 21 says the little girl Ruruka is voiced by Utani Iku, who is most famous for Pikachu and Chopper from One Piece. What a great episode. I could totally see that girl's voice being Pikachu and Chopper. Taichi memorizing all the poems. Man, he is dedicated. So much more than he lets on. I would very much like to know the kanjis for Arata and Taichi's names. I'm sure there's much symbolism there. And then Shimoyama replied with actually what their names mean. But before we get to that, yeah, Taichi does not want to let show how dedicated to Karuta he has become, because he has become a bit obsessed with it, right? But he's not only obsessed with it to, win over Chihaya, he's obsessed with it, more importantly, to show how much he's grown and for himself, for his own self-love, which is why he should be doing it to begin with. But then, yes, Shimoyama responded in episode 21 with the kanji of their names. Arata means new or to renew. I like the idea of Rinu as him coming back, right? And then Taichi means he's the eldest child, and the sound of his name is very similar to ground or Daichi. I've seen a lot of characters named Daichi. Also, I love the idea. I love the idea of earth, water, and wind. I love that idea that you have Arata, who is the water, Chihaya, who is this wind and sky, and Taichi, who is grounded and is the foundational earth. I think that those elements fit them to a T. And I hope we get expansion on that because that would be amazing. But yeah, so I want to thank you all so much for watching with me. We still have 3 episodes of season 1. Before we get started, I want to give a big shout out over to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon to thank you all so much for your support of my channel and everything that comes with it. I want to give a shout out to Alex Cornejo, to Be Happy, to Alyssa, to Bisa, to Dana, Damage3245, of course, Danger Zone, as well as Devorin, Destiny Marie, Daniel, Eric Ichu, Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, El Freya, Lyndon, Liam Polzel, Murphew, Mochi-kun, Willie Morris, Translucent Men, Sunspots, and Shimoyama. Thank you so much for your support and your kindness. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. I did a little home workout before starting this, and my abs, I did all these crunches. Now my abs are like, why'd you do that? So they're giving me a little bit of grief before starting this episode, but I was doing anger stress crunches to feel, to brace myself for dealing with this with Chihaya. So girl, I feel so bad for you, and I'm not ready to deal with this episode, but we got to rip off the Band-Aid. So we're going to look at episode 23 of Chihayafuru and see what we get. And we're going to do this here in 3, 2, 1. And I'll see you all on the other side. Chihayafuru will do 2 things consistently. You will never know what to expect and be thoroughly entertained, and the mangaka will find brand new ways to torture Taichi every time. Just my thing! I'm like, Taichi, you can't possibly be you just can't be self-loathing and harmful to yourself anymore, can you? And then somehow the mangaka finds a way for it to happen, and Taichi finds a way for it to happen. And I'm like, my dude, you are the biggest masochist in this damn series. And I know that it is leading to him having the potential for all this growth. But I'm like, my dude, if you're not careful and you wait around, Arata's going to be figuring some stuff out. Maybe Kana will keep this all from evading being brought up at some point. Because Kana, our girl, she's figured it out. She's tied it in with the poetry. Our girl, she's a real one. She's figured out that Taichi's in love with Chihaya. Everyone else are nincompoops. So I was pleasantly surprised with this episode in a lot of ways. For an episode that I thought was mainly going to be commiserating and Chihaya being very sad and dejected, it turned into actually a really good episode with a lot of things going on. And Whiteboard Kun and I are ready to break some things down because there was actually a lot that, again, just when I think, I'm like, Chihaya's not gonna, go full metal right after her losing a match. No, we go kind of balls to the walls for the rest of this qualifier, and it's great, but they're going to start out reminding us that Chihaya lost, right? And then now we know why Harata was looking at Chihaya, watching her, because he noticed that she didn't say thank you back. She was too distracted by her own shock. And he's like, hey, to be fair, Harata has a stake in this because Harata's like, he's playing for himself to win Karuta, but he's also like, you're one of my students, and how you behave kind of reflects upon me. And I know as a coach, I know exactly where Harata's coming from. We're like, you represent a program when you compete for, a team that you've been practicing with. So the society that Harata runs, Chihaya being a student of that society, how she behaves and her sportsmanship is a direct reflection upon that society. So for him, he's like, you not saying thank you to your opponent makes you look really bad, and it makes me look bad and our program look bad. So, I definitely understand where he's coming from. And I do think the nice thing about Harata is he's not a coach that is solely focused on just winning. He would love for one of his students to become a master. And I can kind of relate to Harata, and I kind of get a little jealous of what he has the opportunity to do because, in competitive public speaking, once you age out of it, like once you get a bachelor's degree, you can't participate anymore. You're kind of done. That's the cutoff. There, I think you can compete for 4 years, which is the amount of time you can get a bachelor's degree. And after those 4 years of competition, you're out. You can't compete anymore. So there is a part of me that feels a little bit envious that Harata gets to keep playing Karuta alongside his own students. Like, how much fun is that, right? But what I love about it is that Harata's goal is not only for himself to become a master, but he wants that for his students. He's like, I want you all to beat me. I want you to play better than I do, because that just shows how well you've done under my tutelage. So, I think that's so cool. And Arata is such a nice coach and a nice guy, because he's not just saying, you're playing for me and you're playing for the society. He wants, he keeps his, players' well-being in mind, right? So Yamamoto Yumi, she's going to be the one to face Shinobu, I think. I think they announced that. Yeah, so Yumi is going to face Shinobu. I really hope in the next 2 episodes, we have 2 episodes left of this season, I really hope that we get to see Yumi versus Shinobu, because conveniently, Chihaya did not see that match last year. Conveniently, so that now the plot can show us it happening again. That should have been a sign. Whenever Chihaya said that she couldn't see the match last year, that should have been a sign that we were going to see it again this time. I hope we get to see it. And then the one guy is going to face Sooooo. Here's what I think is going to happen. We have 2 more episodes of this season. I don't know what all is going to go down, because this series can pack a lot into an episode. This is prime candidate A. But I feel as if, I don't know what's going to happen next episode. Next episode's kind of weird because it's the penultimate episode. I don't know. I feel the very last episode of the season, one of 2 things are going to happen. Either next episode, they're going to watch the match. They're going to go see the Masters match and the Queens match. And maybe we get the Queens match focused upon next episode and the Masters match focused upon in the finale. And I only say that because we've not seen Sooooo at all, right? We've not seen Sooooo at all. We know nothing about him except like a silhouetted cutout from Hiroshi. And then Makuo talking about him. So either we get, it could be reversed, actually. We could get Sooooo in the Masters match next episode, and we could get the Queen match for episode 25, because then Chihaya will watch the Queen's match and be inspired and be like, let's go get him season 2, and then we come back with that. But what I think is going to happen is Arata's going to go watch the match. Arata's going to show up and see Chihaya and Taichi there watching the match, and the 3 of them are going to be like, hey, we didn't make it this round, but next year, we're all 3 going to be Class A rank, including you, Taichi, and we're going to duke it out, and we're all going to go to the qualifiers together. The thing that is heartbreaking about that is that if Taichi gets to the A rank, only he or Arata can face the master. But here's wild down the road later on plot twist. What if, because I know the series is ongoing and the manga has not fully been adapted, what if Arata makes it to master's rank? What if Arata later on in the series faces Sooooo, beats him, and becomes the master, and then Taichi has to come around and try to beat Arata to become the master too? It could be such drama. I don't think it'll be the other way around. I think Arata would beat Taichi, because the mangaka would like to torture Taichi more. So the mangaka would be like, let's torture Taichi the most and make Arata the master and have, but here's the twist. If you want to do the Taichi Chihaya shipping angle, you could have, like, my whole shipper senses have been thrown asunder by this episode. Trust and believe. But what if Taichi and Chihaya, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to break it down. This is my prediction. This is not going to happen this season, but like in future seasons. What I think is going to happen is that Arata is eventually, maybe next season, Arata is going to face Sooooo and win. Maybe even season 3. Arata's going to face Sooooo and win and become the master. Chihaya is either not going to get to the qualifier, she's going to get just shy of it, or she makes it and loses to Shinobu. Match 2, second time, strike 2, she doesn't beat her. But then, and so Arata beat Taichi to face Sooooo, and Arata beat Sooooo. But then you have Arata as the master, and you have Shinobu as the master, our ultimate black hair, blue-eyed arch nemesis antagonist. And then Chihaya and Taichi, our red-haired, brown-eyed protagonists, fight their way to the qualifiers together, bonding, doing all of that. And then you have third time's a charm, Shinobu versus Chihaya, and you have Arata versus Taichi. And all the shipping comes to a head. Down the road, I want to see it. And then whatever happens at that point, who knows? And wherever their relationships are at that point, who knows? But yeah. And then they have just a giant orgy, the end. No. Let's keep it PG. But yeah, that's my prediction. That's where I'm at. We'll see if it pans out. It's not going to happen this season, but mark my words. Mark down Romania that is her theory, her tinfoil hat conspiracy theory for the manga. We'll see if I get anywhere close. Probably not. But anyway, so we have Yumi. And you know what? I'm not mad at Yumi. I'm not mad at her. I was a little bit grumpy with her last episode because she seemed dejected and like she didn't want to be there, and then she won. But come to find out, all these Karuta players are kinky and have specific kinks. And Yumi's kink is that she works well under pressure. She has to be pressured to get her gears a-going. So whenever her coach there is like, oh, well, you're going to have to work really hard. And she's like, that's a lot of expectations you're putting on me with 4 more matches. She gets fired up from the pressure. She's one of those weirdos that needs to use pressure as a motivator to get them fired up. And I say weirdos affectionately because I am kind of stunned and amazed people can use that to their advantage. If I get stressed and angsty, I just break down. So I'm like Chihaya. So yeah, if there weren't any expectations, then, I would have to run away. I would have ran away already. I do hope that Chihaya and Yumi are able to talk in the future, because I do not think that Yumi has a very high impression of Chihaya. I think that not only the fact that she didn't thank her and give the thanks at the end of the match, but the fact that she did run away sad, and Yumi's like, I'm not going to run away. Like, I just feel like Yumi doesn't have a very high impression of Chihaya. And I hope that in the future, the two of them are able to talk again, and she's able to, talk to her and realize, where she was coming from. And plus, Chihaya talking to other people who have lost and who have played against her is a way for her to develop as a player herself. So, so she hides in this closet next to these sweet leather bags. And they're like, come on out. Look, Tsutomu looking like freaking Steve from Blue's Clues over here with the bar of chocolate was absolutely precious. Little Tsutomu. We're going to talk about him and Kana in this. But yeah, and then Pseudo says, I hear that beautiful girls look better bald. What a sadist. What an actual sadist. This dude. And then they're all like, oh my God. And they're like, I'll leave my email address and send me an after picture. He just has no shame. He's like, nope, we made a bet. I'm going to hold it to it. We're going to talk about Taichi. We're going to talk about freaking Taichi. Taichi is AKA the mangaka's darling and punching bag all rolled into one. God, Taichi. I love him as a character. But you know what? He's very flawed. And Taichi has some issues. And there are things that are going to be worked out, I'm sure, as the series goes on. But right now I'm like, my dude, you're showing a side of yourself that I can relate to. But I'm like, it's a little ugly side. We're going to talk about it. And we're going to put Arata over here. And then we're going to put Chihaya up here because she is a queen in our hearts. And we're going to put her up here. So yeah. And we're going to put Kana over here. Kana knows now. She knows that Taichi is in love with Chihaya. She also, from some episodes back if we recall, has an idea that Chihaya may have a crush on Arata and is just now realizing it. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. We're going to be fair. We're going to be fair and talk about this. And then we got Tsutomu over here, because he has a part in this. Nishida doesn't do a lot in this episode, other than prove that Nishida is a monster. Nishida is, okay, I'm going to make a reference to Ace of the Diamond. If you've not watched Ace of the Diamond, you should. It is maybe my favorite sports anime, but this is getting up there. But you should watch Ace of the Diamond. It's great. If you like baseball, it's fantastic. It is a slow burn. You'll enjoy it. I've got a whole series of reactions on it on the channel. Anyway, there's a character in Ace of the Diamond who is amazing at baseball. An exceptional catcher. He's brilliant. He's handsome. He's popular. He has got it all when he's playing baseball. Off the field, he is god-awful at any other sport. And that's kind of the joke, is that he's only really, really good in baseball. And whether he's playing soccer or football or anything else, he's just terrible, right? Nishida is the anti of that, because Nishida is not only good at Karuta, he's great at tennis, he's great at bowling. Nishida is just a natural born athlete, which I personally love in this series because, you know, if we're talking about body types and comparison, I feel like characters like Nishida are often played as, you know, comic relief in series because of their appearance. And that's not Nishida at all. Nishida can actually be a little bit aggravating with how blunt he is and how he says things without thinking them through. But he is not there for comedy relief. That's Taichi's job. But no, Nishida is not there as a comedy relief character. He's a pretty grounded presence. And he is able to kind of be blunt and speak his truths. And the thing is, he's not as inexperienced and naive as Tsutomu is, but he's not as love-struck as Taichi is. So he can just kind of give an opinion and be kind of honest about it, and it comes off as kind of unabashed and genuine. So yeah, I like Nishida, but he's a natural-born athlete. He's great. But yeah, so the fact that Taichi, and look, I know what y'all are thinking. You're like, Romania, you are a Chihaya and Arata shipper, and I am. I'm also a recent convert to the maybe Arata and Taichi ship because that's like Angst City right now. And then also, you know, I see the vision. I see the Taichi and Chihaya vision. I do. But damn it, I know how this is going to go. This mangaka is going to torture us before you get any momentum on the Taichi and Chihaya ship. And however it turns out, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. But I'm going to be speaking this episode as objectively as I can, without being a particular shipper of any way, shape, or form in this triangle, because it's a triangle for sure. I don't want to speak like I'm someone that's an Arata Chihaya shipper. I don't want to speak like I'm somebody that's a Taichi Chihaya shipper or whatever. We're going to just view this objectively and go through this. So with Taichi, the first thing he does is that he offers to take the bet. Now, this does not come off weird to anybody on the team because they all offer to do it. Like, even Kana's like, I'll cut my hair really short, and it's already short enough. And Sudo's like, oh God, why y'all want to spare this girl from going bald? And I like Nishida's like, stay out of it, Kana, like he doesn't want her to cut her hair. But then Arata's like, what the hell is going on? Why y'all babies? Making bets. So Harada and Nishida's like, we know our captain is stupid. And he's like, if I beat you, the bet's off. Good on you, Harada. I love it. And the thing about it is, I don't think Harada, that's the thing. Harada wasn't playing for Chihaya in the bet. He was just like, I know I'm going to beat this kid, so I might as well just stop this and not let it go any further. When Sudo was like, well, I don't think you're my opponent next round. He's like, I know. That's why you need to get to me first. I was like, damn, Harada is like, he's so intense. I love him. And the moment that Sudo, like, opens his eyes up, anytime a character with closed eyes in an anime opens their eyes up, you pay the frick attention because, I love it. I love between them. The flames, everything. I was like, Taichi in this moment was like, These guys are so terrifying. But yeah. So, and then Kana's like, he's so cool. Kana liking older men, I'm into it. I dig it. And poor Tsutomu's like, but wait. So, Taichi is not smooth. He is smooth, but for us, the audience, I'm like, my dude, you could not be more obvious. And I think that's what helps Kana, because Nishida and Tsutomu goes over their head. They ain't paying no attention. They do not even get. To them, what's so amazing and what I love about this series is like, Tsutomu has friend zoned Chihaya instantly. Chihaya has been friend zoned by Nishida and by Tsutomu. They're both like, oh, I don't find her attractive at all. And it's like, and I love it because in any other sports anime or any other anime in general, the beautiful girl, every single guy would be goo goo gagaing over her. And the fact of the matter is that's not how real life works. You know, sometimes you're attracted to people and you're not attracted to other people, and they may look aesthetically beautiful, but you're just like, this is not me, not for me. So I love that, you know, since Chihaya is their teammate, they're not like oogling over Taichi on the other hand. But not those two. Chihaya is not their type. She's too Karuta obsessed for them, and they're like, oh, that's an instant turnoff now, right? Funny enough, Tsutomu does seem to like Kana, but she's built different. Kana is our queen. So yeah, Taichi's like, you guys go watch the match. I'll stay. And here's Taichi's selfishness breaking through. Objectively, Taichi's being very selfish here because Kana's like, well, we could stay and try to support her too. They're teammates. They have every right to stay up there and support Chihaya. Why do they have to go and support Harata and Taichi stay there? By all accounts, Taichi should be the one to go support Harata because he's from their society. Kana and Tsutomu are not from Harata's society. They're, you know, from the same society as Yumi, but they don't really know her. Taichi knows Harata and has known him for years. So if anything, Nishida should definitely go support Yumi because they've known each other a long time. Taichi should go support Harata. And Tsutomu and Kana should stay there to try to get Chihaya to come out and comfort her. But Taichi's being a little bit selfish, and he wants to be the one to have the shoulder for her to cry on. He wants to be the support because he likes her. That's it. So he offers to stay behind. And you know what? With Chihaya. And I know what a lot of you are going to say in the comments. You're going to be like, well, but Taichi has known Chihaya forever and he's known her longer and he should be the one to stay with her. And I'm not going to argue that, but it's just when he tells him that someone should go support Harata, I'm like, yeah, you. But he wants to stay behind and be the one to support Chihaya. And Tsutomu and them are like, whatever. So they end up going and Taichi sits behind. Like she isn't asleep. And he knows that she's still awake and he knows that she's mad and upset because she lost. And how could she sleep at a time like this? And I hate to see her with the light shining through the door and she's really upset. And Taichi's thing here is that, of course, his phone rings. Of course it does. And he gets the text. And he sits up against the door and says, Arata says he won his third round match. I love that she bangs on the door. And you wonder if she's just banging in frustration, like, you know, good for him. Or if she's like, doesn't want to speak because she's afraid she's crying. And he's like, I'm male buddies with Arata now. He's like, I was going to give you his address once the qualifiers were over. So I'm glad that Taichi was going to give her the address because he's been hoarding it for a little while, right? I'm glad he was going to give her the address because that seems only fair. I am a little bummed that Arata didn't give it to Chihaya because Taichi, also I like that they have their own whiteboard coon in the background there. Taichi is so in love with Chihaya. And we need to establish that. He finally admits it out loud to the audience. We're like, not out loud, but he admits it to himself that he is in love with her. He describes himself as hopelessly in love with Chihaya. That's not going to bring any problems down the road now that you've admitted it. It kind of already is, but we're going to talk about that. But my thing is, I I appreciate Taichi giving her the email address. I'm a little flustered with Arata that he hasn't done it himself. We got the explanation of why he hadn't done it yet, because he thought Taichi and Chihaya were dating, which is not the case. But at the same time, Arata is kind of like Chihaya in the fact that he is oblivious. And we're going to put that down here. Arata is very similar. He is similar to Chihaya in that he is oblivious outside of Karuta, except we're going to talk about Mukuo when we get to him. But for the most part, Arata's just trying to improve himself and get better. Arata is trying to do the same thing that Taichi is trying to do in self-improvement and getting back in Karuta and getting yourself to where you can face the master. The only thing is with Taichi, there's an added layer of, oh, I'm also in love with my best friend. And Arata doesn't quite have that yet, but I feel like it's coming down the pipe. But anyway, so he looks at the message there from him and says he's really amazing. And again, Arata asked how Chihaya was doing. We don't see what Arata gets as a response, so we don't know. So I'm curious if he's going to talk to Chihaya in the future about it. Meanwhile, Chihaya is viewing Arata and his backside like this fluid water. And she just, again, the idea of viewing him as fluid water and then the tears run down her face. Poetry, beautiful. And I think that for Chihaya, there is a little bit of shame that she feels because she's like, I envied Arata and how wonderful he was at playing Karuta, and I wanted to be like him, and I didn't measure up in the match. And it's like, ugh, I hate it. It's really sad. But in any case, so Taichi's looking around, and then that was not a very long match. Kana comes back and says Harada and Pseudo both won, and they're playing each other in the 4th round. We need to go cheer for him. And so Taichi's like, hey, we need to come out. Let's go cheer him on. And then he says, I know how much it hurts to lose after trying your best. Here's where I think Taichi, this is where I think Taichi has some improvement to do. And I'm hoping in season 2, he reaches this point. Because if you're in love with her and you love her, then you can tell there is hesitation on Taichi's part because he, like anybody else in the same position, doesn't want to get rejected. And I know how Taichi feels firsthand because my sophomore year competing, there was somebody on my team that I had a crush on and that I liked. And it was very difficult because I would do like Taichi's doing. I would be selfish. I would make sure everybody else was gone and I would stay behind and do things with them and be like, oh, do you need somebody to give you a drive here or do that? I would go out of my way to do little things, not with any like malicious intent, but because I had a crush on them and I wanted to get to know them better and I wanted them to kind of develop a relationship with me. But I was always afraid of being like, if I tell them I like them, they're going to reject me. And unfortunately, I finally did. And yeah, it didn't work out. They didn't feel the same way. And you can't make someone feel the same way. That's just not how relationships work. You can love someone to the ends of the earth and think that you would move the moon for them, but you can't make them love you back. This is not possible. So I think Taichi is worried that if he does all of these things for her and then finally tells her that he loves her, the worst thing she could say is, well, but I love Arata. And it's like, womp womp. You know, best friends and you just got ultimate friend zoned. I don't know. But the thing about it is that because Taichi is afraid of that rejection, he holds himself back from doing things that would really be good things to do. So, for example, he has this moment where he relates the idea of loss with Chihaya. He's like, I know what it's like to lose when you're trying your best. And I'm like, that's great that you told us, the audience, that, Taichi, but you know, before Kana showed back up, you should have told Chihaya that. I'm like, you should have told Chihaya that. And I think that he's so worried about saying the wrong thing, about not doing things perfect as he needs to. He's so afraid of messing up in front of her when it comes to something like this, that it will lead her to not want to be with him, that it's causing him to miss out on opportunities to say, it's like the song, say what you need to say. Just, I want, that song was like playing in my head watching this. I'm like, Taichi, tell her how you feel. Like, tell her that you know and you can relate to her. You don't want to face anyone. He's like, I know how it feels, but my words won't be able to reach her. And I'm like, you don't know that. Why would you think that? You're one of her best friends. Why won't you tell her that? And the reason why is he has convinced himself that only Arata can help her. And I'm like, what happened to the Taichi back midway through the season that was like, Arata's not here. I'm here. You pay attention to me, girl. Like, what happened to that Taichi? 2 steps forwards, 3 steps back. I'm like, oh my God, Taichi. Oh my God. So Taichi is convinced at this point. And a lot of that, I believe, has to do with the fact that he lost the chance to be A rank. I think that Taichi is putting a little too much value into how one's rank and prowess in Karuta affects their view in Chihaya's eyes. I'm like, again, my dude, did you not see the match where you and Nishida, who were the top ranked players at that tournament, were facing off, and she wasn't giving you all a second glance? She was watching Tsutomu and Kana. She don't give a shit about your rank. She wants you to be class A so that you can all play together, because that's her ultimate goal, is for you guys to relive those moments of nostalgia from your childhood and be back together again. But she doesn't care if, how good you are compared to Arata. If you're her friend and you care about her, then forget Arata. He's not there. Tell her how you feel now and how you can relate to her. And otherwise, she'll never know. And I'm just like, because I can relate, because I've been there, because I've thought the same things that Taichi has thought. And so I want to shake him because I've been in his shoes, and I'm just like, stop, say what you need to say to her. Because if you don't, then Arata's going to figure out eventually what to say, and then it's going to be on you even more. So I'm just like, So yeah, Heath is convinced that Arata is the only one to reach her, which is bullshit. Hi, Harata, Kana, all these other people that have reached her, freaking Sakura that she met for 5 minutes. What? No, and I know he's thinking it's about consoling her, not about giving advice. But like, Taichi, you're her friend. She trusts you, and she cares about you too. So don't think that only Arata can help her. Anyway, so the door opens up. Taichi lands in her lap, because of course he does. And then she's like, what are you doing? We have to go watch them play. And she, for once, is like, next year, they'll be your rivals in Class A. For Chihaya, she's like, you need to watch them play. Not just to support them, but to watch them play, because you're going to have to face them. You need to be prepared. Again, she's like, you need to watch them play, not cheer them on. Like, she's already thinking about next year. She's already thinking about the 3 of them, about them being A rank and them playing. Like, she wants that for Taichi. And I'm like, my dude, she cares about you. What are you doing? And so Kana says, well, he stayed behind because he was worried about you. Like, she's like, oh, that's right. Like, that's the thing. Here's the thing. Like Kana says it, and then Chihaya's like, oh, neat, cool. You could have told her all this, and it would have been impacting. But I'm like, Taichi, you freaking masochist. And then she wipes her tears, and she's like, sorry, let's go, Taichi. Like, girl rallies. Chihaya freaking rallies, gets it together, and pulls him up to his feet. And I'm like, Taichi, my dude. And then he says, yes, I am hopelessly in love. He is hopelessly in love, for sure. I'm like, my dude. So yeah, pseudo Akita, huh? So he plays Harata. I like that Harata brought his own pillow. It's super cute. And then Pseudo's like, I would go easy on him, but he's actually beating me, so that sucks. And then I just love that we see, whenever we look over to Yumi, she's just sitting here like, so now this is what you did wrong, and actually, like, if she had a pair of glasses, she would be nudging them up within an inch of her life, right? Now, I thought for a second that Chihaya was, doing this body language because she was like stern and watching the match. But to be fair, Kana does have a turtleneck dress on that's probably warmer. And, Chihaya's just wearing a t-shirt. So again, Taichi is being ever so smooth, being like, aren't you cold? I love his shirt says Grateful Holiday. And then she's like, well, not really. And he's like, you look like you're cold, so put it on. This aspect of Taichi that comes out in this moment and a little bit later on is an aspect of Taichi that I'm not a fan of, if I'm being quite honest with you. It's his aggressive flirting, his aggressive care. So when he is aggressively protective is the word I'm going to use. Aggressively protective of Chihaya. It's not borderline possessive yet. It's not. But I'm like, you couldn't console her 10 minutes ago because you had such little self-esteem and thought you couldn't be Arata. But you're going to force her to wear your jacket because you want to pull off that masculinity and be that chivalry and everything. I'm like, do you deserve that? And I mean, if what he should have done, but Taichi is a walking disaster, so he doesn't do it. What he should have done to be smooth was take the jacket off. He should have looked over at her, saw her doing this, and been like, oh, she's cold. He should have took it off in one fluid motion and put it on her shoulders. And when she complained, he had been like, look, just take it. Right? He should have done that. That would have been suave. The thing is, Arata probably would have done that. Or to be fair, Arata probably wouldn't have even noticed because Arata's pretty oblivious. So I'm like, he tries to be aggressive about it and like aggressively protective. And I'm like, you should have just put it on her shoulders, right? Meanwhile, although it is super cute and I do like, Chihaya looks great in black, by the way. Girl looks amazing in black. It goes great with her hair color. And she's like, they were standing outside the entire time watching me play. I love this because she thanks them and she's like, I was so focused on myself, I didn't even think about others who were supporting me. And Taichi's just sitting there like, just support oozing out of him. But it's kind of funny because you don't have to be focused on others supporting you. I don't think Harata is when he plays. It's just kind of like how you feel influenced. So he beats Pseudo, and then Harata, and then he forgot about Chihaya's hair, and he's like, oh yeah, I was just focused on winning. It's kind of, and that's when he tells Chihaya she needed to say thank you. I like that he doesn't, like, he's not mad that she lost the match. He's mad that she had bad etiquette. And that's really honestly the name of the game. Like, if you're a coach of a team, especially something that's for an activity you've done yourself, there are really shitty coaches out there who would take it out on players if they didn't win. Those coaches are shitty, and I don't like them. But for me, what I would be upset about at a tournament is if you made a fool of yourself, like behavior-wise. Because a lot of stuff is subjective. You don't know how things are going to go. You can't predict some things. Even if you feel like you're 1,000 times prepared. So I felt as if it was great that Harata didn't focus on her losing the match, but instead her etiquette and how she presents herself and her reputation that develops because of that. Right? I love that was the focus. It was great. Also, the fact that they only had a 10-minute break before the semifinal. Like, you've been playing all these matches in a row, and you have a 10-minute break before you go back in that sweltering hot room to play the semifinals. I mean, like, Harata's older than me, for sure. I've been sweating, and I'd be like, can we make it 20? Can we make it 30? Can we have a lunch break? Like, damn. The stamina. And honestly, for him to make it to the semifinal, the stamina. Mm-hmm. Yep. And he goes in. So Harata lost in the semifinals. But here's the thing. The person that Harata faced went on to face Hiroshi, and Hiroshi won the qualifier. So Hiroshi won that one. Can I just say Hiroshi is my crush of this series? Like, I'm all here for the love triangle between Taichi, Chihaya, and Arata, but I am way too old to even remotely think of Taichi or Arata as like, I'm like, no, you guys are still minors. No, get away. But Hiroshi's in college. This man, still way too young for me, but I'm like, oh, Hiroshi is to me such a green flag. He's funny, he's smart, he's a hard worker, he's ambitious, he is not afraid to show his vulnerability and emotions. I'm like, again, if the mangaka wanted to torture Taichi to the extreme, because Taichi is all but convinced that Chihaya wants to end up with Arata. He is all but convinced, right? And so his main competition for Chihaya is Arata. But the hilariousness, if we're going to go back to his talk where he's like, well, you need to have experience dating someone. And I'm like, I want to bash your face in, Taichi, but we're not there yet. It would be hilarious if Hiroshi was like, do you want to go out? And she's like, sure. And then Taichi's like, no! Because Hiroshi's a legitimate guy. Because here's the thing. We'll get to that scene, but you knew Taichi was like, oh, if she dated that guy for like 2 seconds, he'd turn and run because he would be too intimidated by her and her Karuta. Hiroshi would be like, okay. But I think even Hiroshi's like, no, you're not my type. Cannot wait. Hiroshi's such a green flag. I love him. So yeah, so Yumi is the representative for the Queen match. Yep. And they play a best of 3 match against the other finalists. So we established that we have a best of 3 matches at the qualifier. Gotta get 2 out of 3. That's intense. That's intense. That's a lot. But yeah, and to face the same person. Ooh. So in January, they go to face in January. So this is what, October maybe? And so they're going to face back in January. Cool. In a month. Oh no, so it's December. Yep. I like to see she sees Sakura and Sakura's like, see you next year, rival. And that's the thing. That's honestly the thing. Because at a tournament, no matter what sport it is, there's only going to be one winner and there's only going to be one runner-up. And then everybody else falls into place after that. So the majority of those playing are going to be the ones that lost. And so then it's like, okay, we're going to pick up where we left off at and come back next year. Crazy. So yeah, the rest of us will spend the next year as losers. And Arata lost in round 4. So he's like, well, damn it. So then it felt like that was the end of a chapter. It felt like that was the end of a chapter halfway through this episode. And then we got this guy starting the next scene. Now, I'm glad that this series has finally acknowledged that Chihaya is beautiful. She's a beautiful girl. Her sister's a model, so of course she's beautiful. But I was like, nobody else in this school or anywhere else is going to notice Chihaya or talk about her? No, they do. Chihaya and Taichi are literally the pretty ones at the school. They're just also nerdy for Karuta. So this guy's like, hey, I see you every morning at the bus stop. You want to go out? Like, he's the most forward ever. Super forward. I'm like, you from America, sir? And she's like, me? I'm like, what is she? Anne Hathaway in the Princess Diaries? She's just one pair of glasses away from revealing him. It's like, oh my God, she's gorgeous. No, she just has a reputation at school and everybody's friend zoned her except Taichi. But to be honest, I think Kana is correct where she's like, you barely know this guy. You barely know him. Like, you don't need to go out with him. Like, he seems like he would be a burden. She's like, you should turn him down. I love Kana is protective of Chihaya. She's like, turn him down. He's just out for you for your looks. He barely knows you. He'll just be an annoyance. No, you know it's not going to last. Just turn him down. Kana and Taichi come at it from very different approaches. And I want to talk about that. So, Kana comes at it from the very rational friend approach where she's like, this guy's from another school. You don't know him. He doesn't know you. He's just trying to date you because you're pretty. Like, just turn him down and then say, maybe if I got to know you, and then go from there. Like, Kana is a real one. She's trying to protect Chihaya, and she deserves some praise because she is trying to protect our girl. So we'll put that up here. She's trying to protect Chihaya. Good on her. Then, and Chihaya is like, well, but no one's ever asked me out. This girl, well, that's because Arata was at a different school, but this girl, no one ever asking her out because she had the reputation as the weird girl obsessed with Karuta. Checks out. But, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with her never being asked out before. She's like, I might not get another chance to be asked out again. And I'm like staring at Taichi on the other side of the room like, oh, really? You might not get a chance to get asked out again because I don't think Taichi's going to work up the nerve. So, and then she is like, the first time, beauty in vain. And Tsutomu's like, well, but after spending all this time with her, she doesn't seem that beautiful anymore. Kana's like, good. Tsutomu is a chest man though, as is Nishida, so. But anyway, Tsutomu instantly friend zones. And we're going to talk about him because he kind of family zones too. He is basically likening a relationship to family, which we'll talk about in this. So he's like, well, she's just kind of like a friend. I've never seen a character friend zone the MC so quickly in all of my life. Tsutomu basically just said, nah, she's friend zoned to me. Like, girl. And she's like, well, I'm sure that's the reason that nobody in our school approaches her, because she's always with Mashima. So Kana says that the reason nobody asks, Tsutomu Nishida believe that nobody asks Chihaya out because of her reputation for her being so obsessed with Karuta. They're like, well, of course not. She's just obsessed with Karuta. She's not really dating material. Kana thinks that the reason why no one asks her out is they all assume she's dating Taichi, which Arata assumed that as well. So what happens then, pray tell? They were like, why? Why would they assume she's dating Taichi? I'm like, oh my God. And Taichi, meanwhile, is like, wow. Taichi's like, wow, my own bros don't even think that I like her. Great, cool, awesome. And I feel for Taichi. Don't get me wrong, but I think he does two things in this scene that I'm kind of like, wrong answer, wrong answer. The first one is telling her to go ahead and give it a shot. He's like, go ahead, give it a shot. And she's like, really? He's like, you need to experience it for yourself. If you love this girl, that is not the correct answer. Wrong. Like, one, that does a number of things. So he tells her to quote unquote give it a shot. Okay, that's bad for two reasons. One, telling the girl that you like to go date someone else is to that girl implying that you don't like her that way. Because what kind of maniac, insane psychopath would tell her that? So Chihaya is going to be confused if he confesses to her later and she's like, why did you tell me to date other people? That's weird. Like, that would be an instant like, oh, he doesn't like me that way. And I know Taichi's like trying to do this self-sacrificing BS where he's like, I'm just not worthy of her and all this, but I'm hopelessly in love. I want to kick him in the balls and be like, grow a spine, sir. Like, just, if you like her, tell her. And if you don't want to tell her, don't be giving her advice to date other people. Why are you doing that to yourself? The other thing is, even though that guy was really straightforward and kind of asking her out with just her looks in mind, Taichi's kind of like, screw that guy and make him miserable. Like, waste his time, girl. Go right ahead. I'm like, Taichi, if somebody did that to you, that'd be pretty shitty. So that's the first part of it. And he's like, it won't work though, because you can't go out with a guy who hasn't seen you play Karuta. And I'm like, with that statement, this isn't the other one, but I was like, dude, I know this came out in 2012 and 'twas a different time 13 years ago, but I'm like, it's not a turn on to me for a guy to assume how I think and act and how I believe in relationships. So maybe don't do that, Taichi. Maybe tone that down just a little bit. Like, you know, you wouldn't want somebody assuming how you view relationships, you know? And she's like, oh, like, he's assuming what she places value on, but he's projecting that from his own sense of insecurity. So I'm like, maybe don't do that. And she's like, well, I'm already getting a bunch of emails and phone calls from him. And Kana's like, you gave him your number? And then here's step two. This is the second part where I was like, ooh, dated, don't like it. One, he takes her phone and blocks the guy. She could just unblock him. I'm like, she could just unblock him. So he takes her phone. He takes the phone, blocks the guy, Which, again, Taichi, you're not her boyfriend. And even if you were, that's a little possessive and creepy. Don't do that. Just tell her to block the guy, but don't do it for her. Like, the way that he treats Chihaya in this scene is kind of like treating a child or a younger sister. A younger sister? You're not trying to get friend zoned or family zoned. Maybe don't treat her like... It bugs me because the way that he acts in this scene makes it seem like he doesn't trust Chihaya to make good decisions for herself, and she's the same damn age as you. You've had what, one half girlfriend that wasn't even a girlfriend? You just strung her along for a month? What do you know in comparison to Chihaya about relationships? But he's inserting himself as someone that needs to do this for her benefit when I'm like, you don't even have the balls to admit that you like her. You need to back the frick off, sir. Because he's like, I blocked his number. And we're supposed to think that this is very romantic. And I'm like, no. And he says, starting tomorrow, wake up early and ride the same train as me. And again, this is 2012. 'Twas a different time. Kana looks at this going, oh, he likes her. And I think she has a blushy face because she's relating it to the poem. But he's like, you should let me protect you. And that's all well and good. And that's fine. But like I said, this man is so insecure, he can't even confess to her that he cares about her, and he can't even offer her advice. He just sits there. But he's going to be possessive enough to be like, you need to come with me, and I need to watch over you. I'm like, Taichi, back off a hot second. You know? I'm like, you need to treat Chihaya with a little bit more respect and self-dignity than what you're doing right now. And I know I'm being really hard on Taichi, but I think that pointing out these ways that Taichi is kind of doing things wrong is ways in which he needs to improve in the future if he wants a shot at being her boyfriend. Because, like, right now you're acting like an older brother. And if you're trying to be a boyfriend, those things aren't always equatable, right? I'm like, he's like sibling zoning himself, and it's kind of annoying to me. But I'm going to try to be more objective, right? So she says, what does she say there? She's like, this feels, because Kana relates it to, she says in the Imperial Poetry Contest that was held by the Emperor, we see, since I could not hide my love, people would ask if I was pining for someone, and as my love first came to realization, word had already spread. And she talks about how there were two poems that were especially beautiful. As I watch the president, those poems come to mind. Poems about a love that could not be concealed. And she's like, these nincompoops in our club have no clue. And it's literally, Nishida saying, I've never blocked anyone before. It's calm. And then it's like Satomu being like, me either. And then Poop, which is Chihaya going, goodbye, Watanabe-kun. I understand what Taichi is trying to do. He's trying to protect Chihaya because she is naive and innocent. But she's also the same age as you. And you should have respect for her enough to talk to her as a peer. But don't try to take control and protect her and be this white knight on a shining horse when you don't even have the courage to get on the horse in the first place. So Taichi got some work to do. Taichi's got some work to do in season 2. And I want him to do the work. He's done the work so far, but I need him to work a little harder. And I think he will in season 2. We just gotta get there. Meanwhile, Taichi did give her, because he's a masochist, he did give her Arata's address, his cell and home phone. And she's like, what do I do? And so Chihaya's wondering, she's like, what do I say to Arata? And the thing is, she admires Arata. Arata's the reason why she's playing Karuta in the first place. And she, obviously she doesn't want to seem like she's bothering Arata with her burden of losing, but he also lost as well. He lost in the 4th round. So she thinks to herself, she's like, well, maybe we have, how does he feel right now? How does he feel? And the thing about it is, Taichi kind of shoots himself in the foot because he's right there. Like, he could talk to her at any time about this. But he has this view of masculinity and how he needs to be as a potential partner that is dated, that I don't think Chihaya cares about. And Chihaya needs a friend, and she needs someone to be there for support. And Taichi is doing that but he could do so much more, and he's hiding that from happening because he's afraid that he won't come across as boyfriend material if he does it. Meanwhile, it kind of benefits Arata because Chihaya is like, man, nobody's there to support Arata right now. I wonder how he feels. And, Taichi could ask Arata how he feels, but he's not going to do that. So she's like, is he upset? There are many things I want to talk to him about. I really wanted her and him to like have a conversation and to talk in real time. And she starts that process and leaves like a quick voicemail and does it. I'm like, here's the problem. Taichi shot himself in the foot. He's like, you need to have experience dating someone. Well, what's going to happen if he can't admit that is she may end up dating Arata. And it could go two ways. Either she could date him and they both realize, oh, hey, we're actually kind of the same person. And we aren't compatible in that sense. And she dumps him and then realizes that maybe Taichi was there all along. She could do that. Or she could date Arata and they both realize that they're made for one another. And Taichi's like, welp, I screwed myself over on that one. So I don't know. And I love Taichi as a character. Arguably, I know you all will have heard. I think the problem is some people on the internet assume that me critiquing something means I don't like it. If you are an English major or you taking a literature class or any collegiate level literature rhetorical composition course, you know that that's not the case. Critiquing is not saying you hate it or it's wrong. It's not all negative. It's just here's what I want to get expanded upon. Taichi's one of my favorite characters in this whole damn series. I love watching his growth. But our boy has some work to do. He is not perfect. I love that he's not perfect because it opens up all these avenues of growth that he has. But I'm not going to sit there and be like, Taichi's done nothing wrong. No, Taichi's done a lot wrong in this episode. And I'm like, my dude, you've missed so many opportunities because you are drowning in your own self-loathing. You need to pick up the pieces, get a swift kick in the balls, and get back in the game, my dude. If you love this woman, fight for her. And right now, he's not necessarily fighting for her. He's fighting on her behalf. And there is a difference between that. So he's got to figure that out. Meanwhile, Arata is the most oblivious being. Oblivious being. He doesn't even know. And I think him not being around Chihaya is to his benefit because he's not around her enough. There's an air of mystery there on both ends. So Arata is about just practicing. He's like, I need to practice more. What's so funny about it is that Taichi's over here being like, Arata's a god. He's amazing. He's going to be in the qualifier. Arata is having the same issues that Taichi has had. He's as obsessed as Taichi and wants to practice, and he feels out of the game. He's like, I need to increase my stamina. He's trying. He has the same focus and the same things he wants to improve upon as Taichi, just minus the hopelessly in love yet. It's like, oh my gosh. So Takamura was the Western finalist. He ends up being the one that is going to play. The funny thing is that Arata is like, oh, Takamura wasn't that good. And then Hiroshi was like, he was great. It's like, so that gives you an idea of the difference between Arata and Hiroshi, which is interesting. He had the momentum of ranking in 4 tournaments this year and the stamina to last 6 matches. So Arata's like, I got to improve my stamina. And this line, I'm like, Arata, get it. Whenever he's like, I'll have to treat every practice match like a real one. Yes. It is one of the hardest things to get into the head of the students that I coach. When you are practicing, you practice like it's a real thing because everything is muscle memory. Your brain, how you speak, everything. You treat it like it is a final round every time. Because if you slack off when you practice, you're going to slack off in the real thing because that's how your mind works. So I'm like, you've got to treat it like it's a final round. And that costs energy and time and effort, but that's how you win. I'm like, ugh. So yeah, I love Arata. I love that part there. So yeah, they're complaining. They send Daisuke, this little kid, to face Arata. Bless his heart. And Arata is just like mopping the floor with him. But good for Daisuke. Good for him getting some competition, right? Then we have Mukuo. Or Murao. Murao, sorry, not Mukuo. I'm thinking of somebody from Ace of the Diamond again. Murao. So he doesn't want to play anymore. Murao he is our character that has done what I was hoping Chihaya didn't do, and I'm glad that's not the case, which she's the main character. Why would she? But Murao gave up. He lost enough matches and felt like it was hopeless and gave up. And the funny thing is, Arata, kind of was in the same boat, but for different reasons. Arata gave up for a different reason. And then he got back in the game. But he got back in the game because Chihaya and Taichi encouraged him to. Them caring and being persistent about their caring got him motivated to try again. Right? And so that moment where he thinks of them on the train and he's looking at Murao and he's like, I'm going to keep coming back. I'm going to keep finding you and making you do Karuta again, even if it's for fun. I'm going to have you come back and do it over again. Because he's like, I believe in you and your skills, and I want you to keep doing it. And I love the pay it forward aspect of it, where he's like, you need to keep practicing. Also, Arata with the blush face. Arata is very attractive. He's just a handsome guy. And then Murao at first throws it back at Arata and says, well, you're the one who quit for a year and a half. And I was kind of like, dude, his grandfather died. And he blamed himself for causing his death. Come on, man. But he doesn't know. He doesn't know. And I like that Arata doesn't shove it in his face. And he's like, so you're telling me to practice now? And he's like, well, I do have regrets. And he's like, I don't want you to have those regrets either. And you can tell that Arata, he's looked up to Murao for all this time as a mentor. And he's like, don't spend too much time away from Karuta. The thing about Arata that is very different from Taichi, even though they have a lot of things together, is Taichi overanalyzes everything. And he is always second guessing, should I say this? But what if it comes across this way? And what if people take it that way? And I don't know. What if they have this adverse reaction to what I say and they're going to judge me or they want to distance me? He overthinks it. Taichi overthinks everything. Arata said what he needed to say. And Arata let his emotion come out and be like, but I care about you. Don't just quit. So Arata is a little bit more straightforward, which is kind of like Chihaya. They're kind of similar in that regard. He's just maybe a little bit less lofty about it, right? And, if you're a shipper, objectively speaking, I feel like I wasn't objective earlier with Taichi, and people are going to be like, you were supposed to be objective. And I was like, well, I made no promises. I should shave my head, right? The pseudo would tell me to shave my head. But, in the terms of shipping, you can either go two ways with that. You can either look at two characters and how similar they are and ship them that way, or you could look at two characters and how different they are and ship them that way. Essentially, what we have going on here is, oh my God, we do! Oh my God, we do. Okay, well, the love triangle that we have here is essentially the love triangle of Bleach. We have Ichigo, Rukia, and Orihime is essentially what we got. You might want to substitute Rukia for Ushida. You can substitute them and do it that way. Oh, Ishida. Thank you. I was thinking Uchiha. Yeah, Ishida. You could do Ishida or Rukia with Ichigo and Orihime. That's the love triangle we have. You have two characters that are polar opposites and two characters that are quite similar. Okay. Well. And honestly, sometimes people like characters that have a similar moral core that are similar together, but are kind of like fire and water, sort of. So you could do that with Arata and Chihaya, or Arata and Taichi. And then you have ones that are opposite, like Chihaya and Taichi are pretty opposite, but they have a similar, there are similarities and differences between both of them, but I think you could ship it either way and it's fine. But yeah, so Murao is cold, but he's not so cold as to not recognize that Arata cares. And he's like, what is the point? Is the point of Karuta to become a master? That's a great question. Because we talked about shogi in the past with this series. In shogi, in March comes in like a lion. In that series, it's not really, you could become the master, sure. but you could also live out the rest of your life making a living not being the master. So for some people, their goal isn't to like be the best, but it's to keep like a certain rank and make a living. With Karuta, you don't really have as much of that option, so sure. But I like that Morale points out that, you know, maybe my goal isn't to be a master, but I like playing it for fun. And honestly, the goal that Chihaya has to be queen is something that was started by Arata, and she wants to achieve that goal to impress Arata and also say, look, I was inspired by you and I did what you said I could. So, but I think at the end of the day, I don't know if Chihaya yet has that fervor. I think after she battled Shinobu, she got a little bit more of it, but I don't know if she's fully to the point of realizing if she wants to be queen for herself or for the sake of what Arata inspired, you know? So I think she's kind of there. She's like halfway there after the Shinobu match, but yeah, I think that's going to be the case. I don't think Taichi wants to be master at all for any other reason except to beat Arata. Like, that's it. That's the reason. That's the point. It's like, okay. And he's like, let me know if you want to play for fun. Arata's little badger face is the cutest thing known to man. I want to squeeze it. I'm sorry. Look, Taichi's great. Taichi is ultimate character growth, but just give me Arata. I can't help it. He's so cute. And he's like, it's not like me to pry, but he's prying because he cares. And he thinks back to Taichi and Chihaya for caring. So Khan is excited to go to the match because they get to see people in their yukatas and everything. It's great that they get to wear the hakama, for the match, which is great. I like Hiroshi's is just solid blue, very traditional, very basic. The other guy's in orange and looks like he's seen some shit. He looks like he snorted a lot of go-go juice before he came to this match. But good for him. I think Suo is going to wipe the floor with him. But we'll see. So yeah, it's cool that the people reading the poems get to say they get to wear hakama as well. Chihaya looks great with her hair pulled back. Just saying, it's nice to see her with her hair down, except in a ponytail. And she's just sitting there being like, I wish it was me. But I love Hiroshi representing their school because Dr. Harada tired out. He won the Eastern qualifier. The thing is, Hiroshi manages to go to the qualifier, but he makes a mistake. When they're talking here about how he got there, he said Kodagawa was in the semifinal with Harada, and Harada wore him out for me. That right there, as soon as he said that, I'm like, you're going to lose. Because he walked into this match believing the only reason he was there was because Harada got him there. And you can't do that. I'm like, you got yourself there because you're talented, not because Harada managed to beat your opponent. That's not how that worked. And I was like, the moment he said that, I was like, oh, Hiroshi's not going to win because his head's not right in the game, right? So, anyway. So, they watch the match. And he's just, he's like, watch me play doctor, but he's just not fully into it. I did like the one girl. I liked her little headband that said best of luck in rainbow. That was super cute. She doesn't win, but it was super cute. It looks like it might have been written by somebody else. It was nice. But yeah. And so then they do the final. And of course, Yumi does her contesting and everything. And meanwhile, Arata plays Daisuke while this is going, and he's like, I promise I'll become stronger and do my best. I'll keep playing till I'm sick of it. And Harada's smiling like that, just, I feel like Arata sees in Daisuke what he saw in Chihaya when they were kids, and he's so excited about that, and he's just so sweet. I mean, look, I give Taichi a hard time, because his mangaka loves to give Taichi a hard time, and it's infectious. But Taichi's a sweetheart. He really is. When he's a genuine sweetheart. When he's not trying. Taichi's problem is he tries to like play this macho, masculine boyfriend role. And I'm like, my dude, no, you don't need to do that. Arata is a sweet, cool drink of water that's a sweet, innocent being that is gentle. And Chihaya loves it. You don't have to be this macho dude. You don't. Like, she loves that. And she likes you for you, Taichi. So... anyway, preaching to the choir, I'm sure, but Arata looks amazing there. So, yeah. And so the challenger, Yumi, and then the one guy end up winning. this moment where Hiroshi, at first Hiroshi was just complaining because, it's him trying to cope and project the loss. And he's like, oh, this Akama 3 games in a row with my opponent. Oh my gosh. But the moment that Harata walks into the room, he's like, it's so hot. I'm soaked with sweat. The moment he walks in, his hair's all like pushed back with sweat and Harata's solemnly looking at him. And it says the Shiranami Society dream is to produce a master one day. And the moment he sees Harata, and Harata's just like, and Harata's not mad at him. He's not sad or upset. He's like, I know how you feel. It sucks. And he says that without saying a word. And then Hiroshi's starting to tear up and cry from the loss. Y'all. Oh, my heart. And Taichi looks at him and like Harata hugging him and Chihaya too. And Chihaya's like feeling emotional about it as well because she can tell, like she can relate to how Hiroshi feels. And it's such like a powerful moment where Chihaya and Hiroshi are kind of connecting. And with Taichi, I'm like, that's what you need to do. That's what you needed to do. Like Harata came in, gave Hiroshi a hug, let him cry it out. And obviously there's nothing there. But that's what you need to do as support. And Taichi's like, I didn't do that. I think Taichi also is like Chihaya and realizing how much that loss hurts. So there she says it hurts. And her and Taichi are practicing, which is good. She's like, I want to be able to look back one day and say it was all worth it. Mm-hmm. So they're practicing. But you know what? They're also kids. They're also teenagers. Mm-hmm. And I like this one girl. This one girl who is like Chihaya's like classroom friend. She's like, you need to go to a party. You need to socialize. You can't just be Karuta all day, all night. And she's like, well, I placed 290th on the exam. She's like, no, you're spending all your time on Karuta. I do like the friend in the class she says you're spending all your time on Karuta, not you're spending too much time on Karuta. Because there is semantics there. She's saying you're spending all your time doing this one thing. Maybe it'll be good for you to take a breather and go and interact with other people. And at first she's like, what? And she's like, you need to make friends. And she's like, I have friends. So we have the class 1-2 end of second term party is December 24th, like Christmas Eve at 6 p.m. at the Italian Kitchen next to Shinjuku Station. 2,500 yen. There's a drink bar and the hosts are Matsuda and Horikawa. That's super cute. And she's like, a party on Christmas Eve? She's like, do you have any plans? And I'm like, she's coming. And so all the classes are having party. Nishida's going bowling. She's like, I'll take the 24th off. Her outfit is the most 2010s I've ever seen. The blouse with the dress over it. Oh my God. Everybody, I was wearing that fashion. Everybody was wearing that fashion. You wear jeans over it. It was such a staple, right? She also looks so cute. And like all the people instantly are like, all these guys are like, oh. And the girl too. Everybody in the class is like, oh. And they're like, your outfit's so cute. They're like, do you want to drink? Your sister's a model, right? Can I take a picture? She's like, oh my God, too much socialization all at once. Right? And so like, come on in. I also love that Chihaya is herself. And the best part is everybody in the class, no one judges her. Like she's sitting there eating all of the food, stuffing her face. I love she has like the rice stuck to it. Like she's having a great time. She's like out of her comfort zone, but she's like, I'm gonna just be myself and have a good time. And they're like, wow, the Karuta Club's working hard. And then she's like, oh, and they're like, we're in the mountain climbing club. Like what high school has a mountain climbing club? What is happening, bougie school? What is this? And they're like, you're a boring club? You're mountain climbing. What? I'm sure you'll have a few members for liability reasons. And I like both these guys are like blushing talking to her because she's really pretty. Like, but the Karuta Club inspires us to do the best we can. And I don't know if they're talking out of their ass to her and like trying to flirt with her, but I do like that they're genuinely having a conversation talking about how her clubs inspired them and who, what clubs they're in. Like, she can make guy friends. It's fine. She already has Nishida and Tsutomu as guy friends. So it's super cute. I love this. She's like, oh, that sounds fun. And the other guy's like, oh, we practice in the courtyard and people give us funny looks. Okay, they're both in the mountain climbing club. And then Matsuda, who is one of the hosts of the party, is the only male member in the tea ceremony club. And what I like about this moment is that they don't make fun of him because he's like, what's wrong with that? And they're like, I get free snacks, so it's great. Like, this is like such a nice inclusive moment where everybody's having a good time talking about what clubs they're in, and Chihaya gets to bond with everybody, and she's like, man, I wish that everybody could be here. I like that her and Tsutomu are together for this because I forget they're in the same class. Meanwhile, Kana is at the hot pot party, controlling the room, micromanaging it within an inch of her life, being like, if I'm eating this food, we're doing it correctly. Like, girl is having a blast. I probably would be Kana. And Nishida's proving he's the best at all sports. And then, oh my god, Taichi, because the mangaka wants to see him suffer completely, is at a karaoke party with all girls. Now, Taichi, if we're valuing your masculinity and everything, and being a team player, just be friends with this girl. It's okay. It's all right. Chihaya's being friends with the mountain climbing club, and they're fine. So, Taichi, this mangaka has just decided to torture him. And then it's like, I got to talk to a bunch of girls. Go, Tsutomu. Good for you. Good for you. And she's like, yeah, there are a bunch of classmates I never talked with before. It'd be fun if the other club members were here. I feel bad for Kana, because Kana looks like she's uncomfortable at her class party. Kana and Taichi are just kind of uncomfortable there. Nishida, he seems okay, but he's kind of like, oh, I don't have anybody to talk to. Taichi just looks miserable. Taichi's like, I have no one to talk to here, and I hate it. Poor Taichi. And then Tsutomu says this. When you find yourself wishing that a person was also here, that person is like family to you. Family Zoned by Tsutomu. So when he said this, it's like you could view it as two different ways. Because honestly, a lot of times, I think that Taichi doesn't want to get too close to Chihaya because he's afraid if he gets too close, it will come across as if he's being friend-zoned or family-zoned. He wants to be seen as a lover, not a sibling or family member, which he's kind of not done well in those respects in ways. But he's done well in other ways. Don't get me wrong. But I would say that you can view it as two different things. Either being considered like family is immediately cutting off romantic or sexual attraction, or it's kind of the foundation of it. It can be one or the other. You can view someone like family and then be like, oh, well, you're just like a sibling. I don't want that to be anything more than that. Or you can be like, you're like family to me. We're super close. Maybe we could become more than that. It can go both ways. So her viewing Arata as the person she wanted to contact, regardless of how long or well you know them. If you wish that someone was also here. So then the question is, did she want Taichi there? And she ended up calling Arata instead. Or did she just want to talk to Arata? And I love that she's outside on the phone with him. And she's so just completely in shock and doesn't know what to do. Now, meanwhile, Arata is at this party where his Karuta coach has gotten like crunk and is the face drawn on him like the Kool-Aid man, and everybody's just kind of, but also at their Karuta society, it looks like there's kids of all ages, so you can't really do certain things because everybody's all different ages. But him going outside, and then we see her thinking back to Kana's poem, The Misty Bridge of Magpie Feathers. The bridge brought them together. So he steps outside, and she's told to hurry up. Her friends are going to like a karaoke bar. I wonder if they'll see Taichi at the same one. Probably not. But then she says, she's like, cell phones are incredible. It's like the Misty Bridge. I love it. She's so excited when she talks to him. She's like, I'm glad I got to hear your voice. Bye. And he's like, what? He's like, this girl's an enigma. And then he's like, Misty Bridge. Just think hard, Arata. Think hard at it. When the misty bridge of magpie feathers comes into sight. She's like, okay, the night is nearly past. I love it. I'm like, Taichi, if you don't make a decent move, she's gonna swoop in and it's not gonna be for you. So I don't know. And the thing is, I'm not against Taichi ending up with Chihaya. I don't think he's ready. He's not ready. Our dude is not ready. He has so much growing left to do. And the thing is, I like the idea of Chihaya and Arata together, but they don't even know each other, I think, enough to be there either. So we're just the baby steps of things. And we're like only on episode 23 of season 1. So also, I need to give my voice a rest. I've talked for an hour and a half about this, an hour and 17 minutes about this episode. My voice is getting scratchy. I need to go drink some tea and give it a rest. So, oh my God. But please don't get me wrong. I love Taichi as a character. He's one of my favorites. His like possessive, it wasn't even possessive. It was just aggressively protective. It was a turnoff for me. If a guy ever did that to me, I'd be like, oh, no, 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 no. That'd be like a red flag for me. But because I'm like, I'm an adult. I'm the same age as you. Let's pump the brakes, kid. But I don't know. To each their own. So we'll see. But anyway, I'm excited to hear your thoughts down below. Please, I thank you for your support. Please have a safe week. Take care. And yeah, I'll see y'all back for the penultimate episode of season 1 of Chihayafuru.